Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Twitch and how it could be impacting single player games in a pretty negative way. And in that way, it could be causing their death and their untimely demise. So where am I getting this from? This doesn't seem to be anything that we should be talking about, but with E3 closing, there was an article posted on IGN that discusses this in great detail and how this journalist by the name of Alana Pierce, excuse me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Miss Pierce, or Mrs. Pierce, Miss Pierce, where she discusses how at E3 and other video game events, she's talked to many developers, and these developers seem to think that Twitch could be harming the single-player franchise. Even though we're still getting enormous single-player successes like God of War, it's undeniably easier to monetize multiplayer experiences, and I think that's how this fear of the death of single-player games has shown up in pockets of the gaming community. The notion even goes back to 2011 with Mark Kearney, lead architect of the PlayStation 4, saying, "Right now you sit in your living room and you're playing a game by yourself. We call it the SP mission, single player mission, or the single player campaign. In a world with Facebook, I just don't think that's going to last." And that sort of harkens to experiences where it's a shared community, it's a shared world. And he makes a good point. Multiplayer games, Alana makes a good point in that multiplayer games are far easier to monetize than single player games, and Mark also makes a good point in that a long time ago, you would just sit in your room and you would play games by yourself and enjoy them as a solo experience, but now more and more people are demanding that they experience their games together with their friends, whether that be a single player co-op experience or a multiplayer exclusive experience like the likes of Black Ops 4 are doing. The article goes on to say the fear of a decrease of single player games isn't too irrational, and many developers from indies to AAAs told me, Alana, Twitch is having a really significant impact on what games studios are choosing to make. One person I spoke to is Rami Ismail from Vlambeer, who said one of the most under-discussed effects of Twitch, YouTube, Let's Play, the whole content creator ecosystem on the games industry is how the marketing impact of those platforms has affected what kind of games developers make. Why would any major studio outside of the first party trying to sell consoles or a studio with a reputation for single-player games bother with an immersive single-player campaign? Rami's point about first party is an important one to get out of the way. Of course, Sony is going to keep funding single-player and narrative-based experiences when those experiences are selling hardware, maintaining platform loyalty, and encouraging revenue from ongoing subscription services like PlayStation Plus. They're likely to continue selling well too, with people who own that hardware using those games to justify purchasing decisions. God of War sold well, Horizon Dawn sold well. So let's unpack that real quick for just a moment. This guy, Rami Ismail, is basically pointing out, like, as far as like the whole content creator Let's Play ecosystem goes, why would anyone want to make anything other than a multiplayer game? Because if you make a single player game like Late Shift or Detroit Become Human, all people really have to do to experience that $60 AAA level of excitement is enjoy their favorite content creator, play the game, and get their reaction and sort of experience it vicariously through them. And that's sort of the problem that arises when it comes to Let's Plays. Now, this also could be countered with the fact of what I think to be true. It's that if you really want to experience a game like God of War, Spider-Man of this year, Skyrim from the past, Horizon Zero Dawn from the past, just to discuss a couple of different games from back not too long ago and still within the multiplayer realm where they had to compete with other multiplayer games. If it's a game like that, you are going to experience it even if you want to see your favorite content creator experience it first. However, the argument can also still be made, like Rami is saying, Rami Ismail is saying, where there's not much point in creating these single-player immersive experiences when you could create a multiplayer experience, have a content creator play it, it convinces people to jump on it because they want to experience however they may experience things, and it be monetized through skins and loot boxes and DLC and things of that nature. And the probably the best way and easiest way to explain kind of the underlying issue here that the article doesn't really seem to quite explain is why single-player games versus multiplayer games are affected differently by Twitch, YouTube, and the likes. And that is that when a single player game is played by a content creator, there's one thing that can happen, and that is you play the game from beginning to the end. And however complicated the game may be, like in Detroit Become Human, certain things along this line will diverge your path in different ways. And so you may go straight, you may go up, down, come back this way, come out toward this way, and then come back to the same point. It all converges on the same general axis of the end. So if you can experience that from beginning to end, it's sort of like watching someone react to an entire film. If that were able to happen, and Universal Studios and other studios wouldn't strike it down, you could experience an entire film with a content creator, have them react to it, you share that reaction, maybe agree or disagree with it, and you've watched the movie. You don't have to buy a movie ticket. You don't have to go experience it. You don't have to go out and buy the movie. You've experienced it, you're good. And that's sort of the worry and the argument, because some games really, truly only need to be experienced once to get that full satisfaction from it, which is kind of the downside to content creation and Let's Plays and Twitch and things of that nature. So Ramey's point does stand. I agree that it could impact it in some way. I personally don't agree that it's necessarily hurting single-player games or will be the death of single-player games. I think single-player games are going to be here for quite some time, even if companies like Bethesda are pulling back their best and most famous IPs from the single player and branching off into multiplayer with Fallout 76 as an example, and Elder Scrolls Online. Multiplayer isn't always the way to go. Plenty of people enjoyed Skyrim and hated Elder Scrolls Online. So I still think that experiences like God of War, Spider-Man of 2008 of this year, and Skyrim and The Witcher 3 even, I didn't talk about that one at the beginning, but all of those games, all of those single player experiences are truly amazing for what they are. And that's a deep narrative journey that you get to follow and that you get to go on yourself. Whether or not you enjoy a content creator playing that as well is up to you. I've watched a couple of different videos on God of War and people playing God of War, and it's only driven me further into wanting to come back to the game and play it again and get further into the game to either catch up to their point or see if I can stay ahead of them or any of those other reasons. So no, I don't think that Twitch and YouTube and the content creator and Let's Play ecosystem are killing, will be the death of, or are hurting single-player games in any way. I think that it's convincing studios to make a certain type of game more often, but I still believe that the game companies that truly want to make a great experience will still continue to make single-player games, because at the end of the day, it's all about the gamer's experience, not about the money made. And I know that sounds contradictory because these are game companies. Companies aim to make a profit, money. That's all that's all any company really wants, is any kind of profit, any kind of money. But I personally still believe that companies like Bethesda, Nintendo, Capcom, Ubisoft, even Sony and Microsoft still want, for any number of reasons, whether it be console-driven sales, whether it be for you to talk about that game with your friends and have them go and buy it, for any number of reasons, I still think that these companies are going to make single-player driven titles for at least another generation or two, because our generation and the generation before us is still accustomed to these single-player missions and single-player setups, and we're going to miss them. We'll always complain about having them, we'll always want them around, and as a result, game companies will deliver because they know that we will buy them. So, if you enjoy single-player games, let me know in the comments what your favorite single-player game has been throughout the years. It could be all the way back to Super Mario Bros. 3, that's probably my all-time ultimate favorite, or one that you've just had the best experiences on, like Skyrim. I still remember the first time I approached Parthenax and decided not to kill him. And if you prefer multiplayer games, well, I mean, let me know why you think multiplayer games are the future and why single-player games need to just die. I personally think they'll be around for quite some time, and I truly hope they stick around for some time. So if you enjoyed the video, thank you for liking. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do so while you're here. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you, I love you the most. And if you didn't like the video, feel free to dislike. But if you do, f you, and as always, be sure to enjoy yourselves. And until the next video or live stream, because I tend to do a little bit of both, stay frosty and stay humble.